This is a plea for help. My son and I are being threatened, and it is now critical that we expose a major crime, a major injustice, a major breach of the U.S. Constitution, what some may even categorize as a whistleblower. But most importantly, this is a public outcry for help. I am Terry Matthews, and I will conclude this crime alert in 3 sections. Section 1 of this report is strictly allegations, very serious allegations. As of yet, no statement in Section 1 has been proven as fact in a court of law, and that's why we so desperately need your assistance. An unbelievable crime has been committed against my son and against me. We are being denied an investigation. We have been stripped of our U.S. constitutional rights as American citizens. I will give details very briefly in just a moment. In Section 2 of this report, my son, Marvin Diggs Jr. will speak. He will plead for his livelihood and for his life. In Section 3 of this report, I will emphasize the facts in this situation as opposed to allegations. And I will mention 2 quick and easy steps that you can take to help save our lives. Throughout this report, I will pause. You will be urged to download all 3 sections of this report to your personal files because unfortunately and amazingly, this crime does involve elected officials. With the assistance of corrupt Michigan officials, the biological father of my son has stripped my son of his identity. Records that once established him to be the biological father have all been eradicated within the Michigan court system. The father had my son terminated by fraudulent means. His motive was to become exempt from paying court-ordered child support, and he succeeded in his efforts being a proclaimed minister at a prominent church establishment, but also having underhanded legal connections to several Michigan politicians, attorneys, judges. It was court officials and high rankings who all mobbed together in participation of this crime. My son and I have managed to escape death traps on several occasions. Much has been done to silence us, but by the grace and by the favor of God, we are both yet alive to report the truth. And the truth remains that an official court order did exist to establish father-son kinship concerning my son. Case number 8866766 was in full force at the Michigan Wayne County Friend of the Court until that paternity case was fraudulently overthrown in plots of the biological father and his hired legal team. A counterfeit court document was produced to obtain such an outcome. The counterfeit court document appeared strikingly original. It was designed the same as an official court order, and it served in place of an official court order. It was backdated. It had forged signatures of a court clerk and an elected judge. And in several court sessions, the father and his attorney presented the bogus court order before a judge, accusing me of failure to adhere the court commands that had been bogusly printed. And the presiding judge in the case heavily relied on the father's counterfeit court evidence as she finally granted his wish. Permanently, this judge shut down my paternity case. She swiped out the father's staggering child support arrearages, then denied my son birthrights to ever receive financial support from his father. And the grave details of this judge's final ruling includes that my son has no father. He is now legally terminated as a relative of his own biological family. Yes, the father criminally masterminded the means to eliminate my son within the Michigan court system. And unfortunately, I was unaware of the father's criminal deeds as he was committing them, because during that time frame, I was residing in the state of Ohio among the working poor, struggling, scuffling, depending on the Ohio welfare system to help aid my son financially. While struggling as a single parent, it was then that I received the Michigan court notice updating me that my son had lost his father and birthrights. In addition, I received the father's counterfeit court evidence, his counterfeit court order by U.S. Postal Mail. In the state of Ohio, my Michigan child support case was gathered and studied thoroughly. It was then that the father's significant court fraud was discovered at that time. I was then guided to retain a Michigan attorney to take this Michigan matter to court. But then my Michigan attorney sabotaged my case. She accepted my case first, then secretly derailed the plan to report the fraud. It wasn't until the very last minute, in the hallway of the Michigan Wayne County Courthouse on the day of my court hearing, when my attorney ditched my case, refusing to report the fraud. By her own admission, she had been friends with the attorney who had been criminally assisting the father. My attorney stated that she met this lawyer in law school and that she would hate to see him lose his law license. I was left alone. To move forward, I reported the court fraud on my own. Respectfully, I filed a complaint directly to the judge who made the unjust ruling against my son. And this judge was highly alerted that the biological father presented bogus evidence in her courtroom just to avoid paying child support. And it was simple for this judge to substantiate my claims of fraudulence, because with my complaint, I was clear. I provided this judge a copy of the father's counterfeit court order. And there was other evidence in the court system readily available to this judge, also proving that the court order in question was in fact planted in my case. This judge had quick and easy access to the transcripts. But no matter the proof, no matter the mounting evidence, this presiding judge would not respond to my grievance. She ignored the crime alert. I moved forward. I reported the court fraud to other Michigan law officials, including the Chief Justice who was presiding over the Michigan Wayne County Friend of the Court. But even against court policy, the Chief Justice ignored and would not respond to my grievance. Then suddenly, the threats began. Derogatory threats were written on the front door of our apartment. Then I began receiving frightening pieces of mail, with my full name switched to several different paternity cases. A strange lawyer from a different county switched my name to an Oakland County paternity case. I was criminally assigned to case number 685653. When I notified the Oakland County attorney that I could not accept his illegal case, my name was switched, criminally switched, to a welfare paternity case. I was illegally assigned to case number 910-254-884. And at first glance, it appeared that this welfare paternity case was legitimate. It was presented under the professional letterhead of Michigan Governor Jennifer Granholm. But then I later discovered that even the welfare paternity case was criminally issued. Now finally and most recently, I've received frightening pieces of mail from the Michigan Wayne County Friend of the Court itself. The Friend of the Court's mail was similar to the frightening pieces of mail I had been receiving from strangers all along. An unidentified official at the Michigan Wayne County Friend of the Court has now switched both my name and the biological father's name to a fourth paternity case, covering the father's fraud and utilizing a governmentally funded program to officially do so. When I inquired about this mysterious Friend of the Court paternity case that included my name, I was denied information, and my son and I continued receiving threatening and harassing phone calls. At this time, it would be helpful to know who's behind the ongoing group stalking, the ongoing threats, and the ongoing harassment. At this time, I'm going to conclude section 1 of this report, and I'm going to urge you to immediately download this section to your personal files. My son, Marvin Diggs Jr., will speak in just a moment. Section 2. Thank you.